Hello, I'm Richard Chambers, Senior Internal Audit Advisor at Audit Board, and welcome to another in my continuing series, Agents of Change. I'm joined today by Lucia Wind, who began her 3-year term as Board Chair of the Committee of the Sponsoring Organization of the Treadway Commission, that we all know as COSO, earlier this year. Lucia has a wealth of knowledge from over 20 years of experience in the internal audit profession, which includes time spent as the Chief Audit Executive for such companies as Unisys, Lucia, and AOL. Welcome to the show, Lucia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your series.
Thank you. Internal audit change agents, I've described them as those internal auditors who are catalysts for transformational ideas that create value within the organizations they serve. What's your view on that kind of role for internal audit? Do you see that as something internal auditors should be doing?
No, absolutely, and I think it's critical, and where I really see us being the most effective, and typically the resources that companies come to is our breadth of experience and our ability to be able to transcend departments, industries, different skills in an organization. We're one of those groups that can look at IT controls and IT processes, marketing, procurement, finance, and so we come with this breadth of knowledge and skills that is really unique to any organization, and I think that really makes us the perfect candidates for being the change agents, because we're not siloed in our view. We can look at the bigger picture, the small picture, and really drive the best value to any organization.
Let me say publicly, congratulations on your new role as the COSO Chair. I was so excited when I learned it, and a lot of our audience members may have heard of COSO. Some may know a little more about it than others, but could you just provide a brief description maybe of the history and mission of COSO?
No, absolutely, and it's been a great experience. It's been a great journey so far. 10 months into it, it's a great learning experience. But going down a history lane a little bit for some of us, so COSO has been around for a long time, and so the organization was first established in 1985. It was really formed as a result of some of the financial scandals that were actually happening in the U.S. and worldwide at that time for many organizations. What was established was actually the Treadway Commission, and the Treadway Commission, which is part of the full COSO name, the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations of the Treadway Commission, was sponsored by the 5 organizations that were the founding members of the group. They're still the current organizations that are very active and are who we currently have on the board as well. And those organizations are, which many people will know, the IIA, so the Institute of Internal Auditors, so all of our internal audit professionals. We have the AICPA, so all of our CPA members and certificate holders, FEI, financial executives, AAA, which is the American Accounting Association, and then IMA, Institute of Management Accountants. So those were the organizations that had a seat at the table to sponsor the Treadway Commission, and they are still part of COSO right now.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I served for 10 years on the board, and so I have a great love for the COSO mission, and I think you did a great job of articulating it for our viewers. So Lucia, COSO is most widely known for its 2 frameworks. So can you just quickly just differentiate the internal control integrated framework from the enterprise risk management framework?
Of course, and so the way I look at it is actually 2 frameworks that really dovetail very nicely to each other. They supplement each other in the mission that they provide and the guidance that they provide. So the enterprise risk management framework, the way I look at it is really the framework that will help organizations achieve their strategic objectives, right? It's your big ticket risks that impact an organization that companies face, which are unique to every industry and organization. So there's no perfect script for that. But the framework really provides a thought-out process in which to assess those risks for your unique organization. When you look at the 2013 ICIF, so that is our integrated framework, originally was published in 1992, and many of your viewers may know that. When I look at the controls framework, it's really the tool that helps you achieve and mitigate those risks that you have identified in your enterprise risk management. It is so much more than that. I think many people think of it as just SOX and SOX compliance, right? But with just the name of it being the integrated framework, it really can be used very widely throughout an organization to help you mitigate those risks and have those appropriate actions and processes in place.
I think it's so true, and you know we took great pains. I can attest firsthand in 2013 to make sure that when that new framework came out, that it was more than just internal control over financial reporting. And I think you and the board members today are doing a great job of continuing to carry that message forward. Lucia, how would you envision that an internal audit professional could use these frameworks as a change agent within their company or their organization?
No, I'm actually going to piggyback on the last question that we discussed. And so very recently, COSO actually this year published guidance on sustainability reporting, which takes the integrated controls framework and applies it to sustainability. And so when you think about being a change agent, there is an opportunity to take the frameworks that we have and utilize them for very relevant topics that most organizations face, such as ESG and sustainability reporting. So the frameworks are out there to really guide you agnostically through the various processes and efforts and objectives that you have. Sustainability reporting being one of those, and I know it's a hot topic at every conference, event, stakeholder that I speak to. And so, you know, talk about being a change agent. There is guidance and framework out there that you can use.
You guys published a piece of guidance on using the ERM framework for sustainability reporting earlier this year, right?
Yep, right. So that's our 2023 sustainability ICSR guidance. And so the frameworks are out there to provide the structure, but really can be utilized in whatever you're trying to tackle within your organization, including emerging risks and hot topics, which really dovetails very nicely to being a change agent.
Good. Well, thank you. You know, our research indicated, Lucia, that change agents have 4 really strong shared characteristics or attributes. They have strong business acumen, a strategic mindset, they're relationship-centric, and they're innovative. Are there any other things, any other characteristics that you think an internal auditor really has to have to drive change in an organization?
I think those are all great that you have listed, and I definitely agree with all of them. I think if I think of, from my professional experience where I've seen audit professionals to be the most effective, there's 2 that come to mind. One of them is communication. And I know it sounds very elementary. It's been around for a very long time. It's how we all get around, right? But and I mean both written communication skills as well as our oral kind of verbal communication skills. And so we can do the best audit, we can tick and tie everything, we can have the most beautiful work papers, but if we cannot effectively articulate the results of the work and the scope that we were trying to achieve during the project to our stakeholders, to board of directors, really to senior management, all of that work will go by the wayside. So communication is really a key for internal auditors to embrace, and it's not something that's very easy, but you know, it's definitely a skill to invest in. And then the other one is agility. And so in terms of agility, really what I mean is being able to embrace change coming at you. A lot of the risks in our world and environment right now are changing very, very rapidly. And so as agents of change and as auditors, we're going to have to learn how to pivot very quickly to embrace that change, to make sure that the projects that we're working on drive the most value. You know, technology changes, risks change, and so how are we absorbing all of that information and implementing it into the work that we do? And absorbing change and being agile is not always an easy skill. You would think that it is, but being able to pivot will make you a more effective auditor in a long term. So those would be the 2 that I would just add to your great list.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you. Looking ahead, so you're a chief audit executive in addition to your important COSO role, but looking ahead, what do you think are the most significant challenges that the internal audit profession faces, say, in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I think 10 years is very far to look ahead. A lot can happen by then. But I think there's 2 things that come to mind, and this is actually a question that has come up to me a lot in the last few events that I've been at. But the 2 that I would list is skills, and what I really mean by that is transcending the typical skills of an auditor. I don't think these days you truly have a business process that is purely manual like we had in the old days, right? When you had your business process auditors and you had your IT auditors. I feel like that that line is starting to blur, and business process auditors are becoming more well-versed on IT controls and IT testing and vice versa. And so I think at some point we will probably just have auditors, right? And really their skills will be everything, and they can all work on IT or business process, and it goes both ways. So that skills development will be critical because, again, back then when we used to have expense auditing be a very manual process where you got your receipts and you stapled them and you walk your paper down the hall and get a manual signature on your expense report, and then you got a paper check and mail. Right now it's an app and you scan a picture and there's magical workflow in the background, and next thing you know there's a direct deposit in your bank account, right? So even one of the most basic business process processes is now fully automated, and that rate of change is happening all around us. So skills transition into between IT and business process and adaptability to that will be key. And then the other aspect that I think will be a change that is starting to occur but will need to happen much more widely and effectively is an agile risk assessment. I don't think we can, as auditors and professionals in the risk space, just sit there once a year, do our risk assessment, maybe tinker with it a little bit, you know, before the board meeting just to make sure we're good. I think it's going to have to be a living, breathing document that is updated daily, constantly, to really reflect the resource blend that you need to have to get the work done that you need to get done to make sure that the project makes sense. Because if you do your risk assessment a year before and then a year later you get to do the audit, it just may not be the most relevant thing that you should be doing, and resource-wise, company benefit-wise, board benefit-wise. So agile risk assessment and skills development.
I think those are great observations. I absolutely agree with you. Both of those are significant challenges and will be essential for internal audit to overcome. Lucia, thank you so much for your insights on COSO and how you see internal audit's role in driving change. And best of luck to you in your new role as the COSO Chair.
Thank you so much, and thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Richard Chambers, the Senior Internal Audit Advisor at Audit Board.